Hey guys, it's AJ with Joe's Gaming Electronics, and today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the micro USB charger port on your Beats Pill 2.0. We sell all the tools and parts on our website for this repair, so go ahead and check the description down below for that, or go into the products page. You can find any of them there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this repair. First thing we're going to do is take our pry tool, and we're just going to pry up this right here. So we'll get underneath this side. And this one's been pried up a few times, so it's pretty easy to get up. We're going to twist it like this so it's perpendicular with the unit. And you'll see here that we have 4 Phillips screws to unscrew here. So we'll go ahead and do those. All right, now that we got those out, we're gonna move on to the screws right here. We've got 4. We've got these 2 and these 2. We're gonna start with these. We'll start with the side ones. All right, once you get those 2 middle screws out right here, we're gonna kind of take our pry tool and just kind of work it in between this mesh and the housing here. Nothing too crazy. Just enough to get underneath here like this and pop it out just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little on either side. And you'll notice here that we can now remove this. So we've got the Beats logo here. If you hold it straight up like this, you can actually grab both sides back here. Grab this. And slide it off the unit. So we've got this. And then we have these 2 separate ones right here. We want to make sure that we keep these lined up properly. So we took it off like this. I'm going to sit this down right here and take this top one, slide it off, and put it on the top side. Take this bottom one, and put it on the bottom here. We can't mix these up. We want them to be put on the same way that we took them off. All right, once we have done that, we can actually start getting into the unit here. We're just gonna take it and flip it open like this. And we can actually disconnect this right here. You see this black tab? We're gonna lift that up a little bit on either side and unplug this ribbon here. Once you've done that, we're gonna unplug these cables and we can remove the speakers from the rest of the unit. Now we are looking at the board. We're gonna go ahead and remove this. Just unplug it here. It should just pop right out like so. All right, and we can go ahead and unplug the battery as well. And then we'll take our Phillips screwdriver and unscrew these 3 screws. Okay, now we can actually remove the motherboard from the housing. Just lift up very gently. And there are still some things we have to remove. So we're not pulling it all the way out. We're just kind of wiggling out like this, because now we have to unsolder this ribbon. So I'm going to get my solder iron heated up. I'm going to put some flux onto these spots. So you do need a solder iron to do this repair. All right, and then we're just going to barely touch these spots, heat them up enough to disconnect the ribbon. Now we have removed the board completely from the housing. Side note, if there is glue on where we just unsoldered that and or the charger port right here, there very well possibly could be. This one looks like it's been repaired before and there's no glue, but there can be glue right here. Some tips to get it off is use a heat gun or something to warm up the glue and then to slowly pry it off, or clip it off with some tweezers or with a flathead screwdriver. Just be very careful of the other components along the board. You don't want to be jamming those, but heat is your best friend when removing the glue, as well as this flathead. All right, now that we got the board out of the housing, I'm gonna go ahead and grab our vise here. This is just gonna give me some support while working on the motherboard. Instead of using a solder remover, we're just gonna use a solder wick to get rid of all this solder here. So what we'll do is we'll get some flux up in there. We're gonna do our best not to drag the solder wick across the points. We don't want them to be connecting, so they're not, you know, grounded to each other. So we're gonna do our best not to do so. The best way I've found to do it is to just kind of go top down. So we'll line it up here like this. And remove the solder 1 point at a time. Alright, looks like we've done a decent job of removing it from this side, so we're just gonna spin this around so I can get a better view. We're gonna hit this side real quick. So we'll do the same thing, grab our flux, get some of that on there. Not too much, I'm gonna try to get some of that off. And we'll take our solder wick and just try to remove as much of this solder as possible without dragging it across the board. All right. Now that we've done that, we're just gonna go ahead and try to remove this. See if it's loose at all. Charger port is feeling pretty snug as still. So there's probably still some connection here. I haven't really gotten it all off perfectly, but might as well give it a try here. Looks like it's a little loose, still some solder stuck onto the board, still making connection there. So we're just gonna keep going at it on either side, trying to remove the solder. If you've got a solder extractor that can suck up solder, it's much easier to do it that way, but this way also works as well. So looks like we're pretty good here. I'm gonna pull down, pull out right here, and boom. We have removed the charger port from the motherboard. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one away. And I've got our brand new one here, our Joe's branded charger port. We're gonna be throwing it on this thing. Again, if you need this part, you can go ahead and find it on our website, joesg.com. If you're trying to remember which direction to put this into the board, like this or this, there is a little thing right here that shows you which way it should be going. So you'll see there, that's what the micro USB should look like when it's plugged in, to the, or soldered onto the board. See that? So it should go like this. We'll just go ahead and push her in a little bit, not too hard, just enough to be visible on the other side. We're gonna flex this guy up again, just a little bit, not a lot, because we still got some left over. I just want it to be well lubricated for the solder. Get a little bit of solder on our iron. We don't really want that much. We kind of just want to be softly touching up each point right now with a little bit of solder. We don't want to put a lot because we do not want to bridge any of the points, because that can just get irritating to fix. Having a lot of patience while working on electronics is pretty crucial. Looks like we got these 4 connected on this side. We're gonna rotate it over. Try to give you an angle like this now for you guys to see, although it's not gonna work on this side. So we've got these 4 soldered on. We might have a little bit of a bridge there we'll have to fix, but we're gonna go ahead and hit this side real quick. Alright, definitely not the best job I've ever done, but it's not the worst either. So we're gonna go ahead and clean up these. Try to make sure there's no bridge points here. So like right here, you can see these 2 are connected a little bit. We're gonna try to make it so that's not happening. Sometimes it's best to just use the solder wick to brush it all up and then restart. Patience is the name of the game today. Alright, this is looking about as good as it's going to get, potentially, because this has been worked on before, and it looks like some of the contacts were bridged before. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up with some alcohol with a Q-tip. Get as much of that flux out of there as I can. Clean it up. Get around all these components. Not too much pressure, just, you know, enough to get the alcohol on there. This side's looking pretty good. I don't think any of these are bridging. It looks like they might be, but I don't think they are. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a rip. See if this guy is charging properly. So just to do a little quick test, we're just gonna set this guy in here. Like this. Plug in the batteries. And we're just gonna go ahead and plug her in. See if we're getting any power to the board. Looks like we are charging, which is a good sign. All right, now that we know that the charger port is getting power and charging the battery, we're just go ahead and unplug this. And we are going to put everything back together. We will start by go ahead and throw this plastic piece back onto the charger port. And remember, this wire we unsoldered, we're going to make sure that that's pulled to the side as we set this in place. You're then going to solder back on this ribbon. This can kind of be a nightmare just because the ribbon doesn't like to function or cooperate, more like. So sometimes some tweezers to line this up, or using your flathead to kind of gently guide it to where it needs to be to solder is the way to go. If you can't get it soldered while the board's in place, you can also just line it up like this. You have more control of the board than you do the ribbon. There we go. Slide this back on into place as carefully as we can. Make sure not to damage this ribbon. Set it in place. Put aside our solder iron. We don't need that anymore. We'll just go ahead and plug some stuff back in. We're going to actually leave the battery unplugged for now. We'll get the main board screwed into place here. These can be tricky. You do want to line up these screws so that the plastic pieces is supporting the board at the correct angle. So I suggest screwing in a little bit, making adjustments, screwing more until you have got it lined up. Now that we got those screwed in, go ahead and put this port in real quick. I'll slide that into place and plug this in as well. Make sure that's all lined up properly. We can go ahead and just plug the battery in. Get that done with. Now we can grab this second part of the housing that we used before. I suggest plugging in this ribbon first. It's a little easier to do once you've plugged that part in. So if you need to lift this tab again, go ahead and do so with your flathead. Then we'll nestle this ribbon into place. Sorry if you can't quite see it on the camera, it's a little hard to do without being lined up this way. Once you got that ribbon plugged in, carefully plug in the speaker drivers as well. Use your flathead to help line it up a little bit. Once you got that plugged in, you can kind of nestle everything back into place here. Squeeze it, and it should pop everything back into place there. Okay, once we've got the housings, the two halves back together, we're just gonna go ahead and slide on this guy again. If you remember correctly, we had to remove each of these little side pieces, and we had to put them correctly back in order. So we're gonna put this one on the left side, slide it into place. Should look something like that. And then we'll put this guy on. And you'll see the Beats logo right here and these buttons. To get over these buttons, you kind of have to pick up both sides and kind of just drop it into place like this, so. And you have to slide this guy into place with this side rail. It can be kind of difficult. It might take you a couple tries to slide it into place, but you'll see grooves on this center piece right here that are supposed to line up with these grooves right here. Could take you a couple tries, but it should fit properly. Make sure that this guy's lined up properly on the back. These are very finicky, but as you can see there, we got that one slid in. Now we just have to worry about these buttons. Make sure that they are lined up. We are almost there. We just gotta get this button lined up. So we're gonna do the same thing. We'll lift both sides and try to get this button lined up by lifting both sides and placing it kind of over like so. There we are. Now we'll place this other side piece on. We want the thicker side on the outside. These can be very finicky and annoying, so do not feel bad if it's taking you a little bit of time, because they are quite difficult. So we're gonna lift this on either side, get that guy in there, and then drop it back down. Just like that. This can be very difficult. You can go in any order you'd like. If you want to put both the outside pieces on first and try to put the center piece on at the same time or afterward, it's really just what works best for you. I like putting one on, getting the center piece on, and then getting the second one on by lifting both sides and kind of sliding it into place. That's probably the most difficult part, to be completely honest with you. But we've got it done. All we're doing is putting these two screws back in, these small ones with the Phillips screwdriver. And it's this one and this one, not the side ones, but the top and bottom. And then these two are the side ones. All we have to do now is screw in these 4 body screws. All right, once we have all 4 of those body screws back in, if this rubber piece came off, we'll just kind of slide this guy back on, I believe. Yep, just like this. We'll put it through there, kind of pull it through ever so gently, line it up, and we will just push back down. If you want to put new tape down to make sure that it sticks better, go ahead, but if you're just pulling this up for the first time, the adhesive should still be pretty good when you're putting it back down like so. And that is how you replace the charger port on your Beats Pill 2.0. Again, if you need any of the tools, they're in the description down below, as well as the part for the charger port, and any other Beats Pill 2.0 parts are also on our website. I hope this video helped you guys out. This has been AJ with Joe's Gaming Electronics. Peace out.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you guys love what we do, please support us. You guys can click on the links that we have on the end screen. You guys can buy our parts, sales, or service so we can continue to make great videos for you guys for many more years. Thank you.